Bonjour tout le monde. Aujourd'hui, nous allons parler du chapitre 8, à la maison. Vocabulaire 1, les corvées chez les bas au Sénégal, partie 2. So last class we discussed asking for, giving, or refusing permission, and today we'll tell how often you do things. So before we get into the new vocabulary, let's review what we learned last class. So qu'est-ce qu'on fait? Qu'est-ce qu'elle fait maintenant? Elle arrose les plantes. Bien. Et qu'est-ce qu'il fait? Elle balaye. Bien. Qu'est-ce qu'il fait? Il donne à manger au chien, pas de chat. Et qu'est-ce qu'on fait maintenant? On fait la cuisine. Peut-être de Thanksgiving. Et elle, qu'est-ce qu'elle fait? Elle fait la lessive. Fait la lessive. Et qu'est-ce qu'on fait? Elle fait la vaisselle. Et qu'est-ce qu'on fait? Elle fait son lit. Et il, qu'est-ce qu'il fait? Il lave la voiture. La voiture jaune, n'est-ce pas? Et lui, il met la table. He's setting the table. Et qu'est-ce qu'on fait en général dans ce dessin? Nettoyer. Et ça? On passe l'aspirateur. Bien. Et elle, qu'est-ce qu'elle fait? Elle promenait ou sortit le chien. Personally, I think that looks a little bit like a pig, but that's just me. Et qu'est-ce qu'on fait? Il sort la poubelle. Et cet homme ici, il tend la pelouse. Et elle vide la lave-vaisselle. Très bien. So now that we know how to describe the different chores that we complete, you have to be able to tell how often you do them. Maybe it's something you do every day. Maybe it's something you only do once in a while. Maybe it's something you only have to do once a month. But you have to be able to describe the frequency with which you do those things. So let's start at the top. Je fais mon lit tous les jours. Something you do tous les jours, we do every day. So tous is every. In this case, tous les jours, every day. Something that you do d'habitude is something that you usually do. So d'habitude, mon frère range sa chambre le samedi. Usually, my brother cleans his room on, what day is samedi? Saturday. Now in this third case, we're going to get a little bit whiny. C'est toujours moi qui fais la vaisselle. C'est toujours. We said tu is every. So toujours, something that's every time, it's me. So c'est toujours moi qui fais la vaisselle. It is always me who blah blah blah. So c'est toujours moi qui fais la vaisselle. It is always me who does the dishes. Now y'all know that is not the case for Mama Smith because she do not touch dishes. She has a dishwasher, and that was the best investment she'd ever made. So moving on. Ma mère passe l'aspirateur une fois par semaine. So our little 4-letter F word we've seen before. We've discussed it before. It's talking about the times, the number of times you do something. So, si ma mère passe l'aspirateur une fois par semaine, my mom vacuums 1 time per week. And our last one, je ne fais jamais la cuisine. I never, in this case, I never do the cooking. Now I know that's where I usually leave you, but I do want to take an extra minute or so to talk a little bit about one of the culture pieces we discussed. Hospitality is a very big deal in Senegal. We've discussed the different tea ceremonies, les trois normaux. They also have the tea ceremonies called ataya. It can last for several hours and is part of kind of just a hospitality ceremony kind of thing. They generally don't drink tea throughout the day like we do, but more so at the end of a meal, kind of like an apéritif. So it's offered to visitors, friends, and it's usually performed by the young boys or men. It's kind of neat in that it gathers people of all groups, ages, together. So another thing we discussed was, even though the men and boys do typically serve the tea during the ataya ceremony, Senegalese women usually do all of the housework, those things that are stereotypically female. Men, on the other hand, are legally declared the heads of household, and women have little rights under that law. Only about 20% of women have jobs outside of the house, and even those that do typically hold entry-level service jobs, unskilled labor. In fact, only 23% of Senegalese women can read and write. So how is that different or similar to us? Is that anything that would be at all acceptable in the United States? Today, no. 100 years ago, 150 years ago, absolutely. This is not something new. So I want you to think about the way that some of these gender roles are put into place. Like how do we get them? Where do they come from? So think about that a little bit, and I want to actually discuss that at the beginning of next class. So as always, jot down your notes. If you have any questions, jot that down as well. We will discuss the video at the beginning of next class. Until then, bonne nuit tout le monde.